In a time when America's financial system was as segregated as its streets, two men dared to do the impossible. In 1954, they didn't just challenge the banking system, they bought it. This is the extraordinary story of how a shoeshiner and a nightclub owner outsmarted the most powerful financial institutions in the country, all while hiding in plain sight. Our story begins in Oakwood, Georgia, 1939, where young Marcus Thompson sits outside Sunrise Bank, a worn shoe brush in his weathered hands. While others see him as just another shoeshiner, Marcus's keen ears catch every word floating through the bank's open windows. Interest rates, property values, investment strategies. He absorbs it all, scratching numbers into a tattered notebook hidden beneath his cleaning supplies. One sweltering afternoon, as bank executives discuss a major real estate deal inside, a police officer notices Marcus lingering too long near the window. The officer's suspicious gaze follows him home, where Marcus's father discovers his son's notebook filled with complex financial calculations. "You've got a gift for numbers, son," his father says, voice heavy with both pride and resignation. "But in this world, in this time, they'll never let a man like you make real money, no matter how smart you are." Marcus looks up from his notebook, determination burning in his eyes. "Then I'll find a way to make them think I'm not the one making it." If you're enjoying this incredible true story, consider subscribing to our channel for more untold histories that shaped America. 15 years later, in 1954, we find Marcus pulling up to a modest house in Westbrook, California. His wife Diana and their young son Marcus Jr. sit beside him, hope and uncertainty mingling on their faces. They've come to stay with Diana's uncle Robert, their first step in a journey that will shake the foundations of American banking. Robert, a factory worker at Carlton Industries, offers Marcus a steady job. "They're hiring colored folks now," he says proudly, but Marcus politely declines. "Thank you, sir, but I came here to build something bigger. I'm going into real estate." Robert's laughter fills the small room. "Real estate? In California? Boy, you're dreaming too big." But Marcus isn't dreaming, he's planning. The family settles into a tiny converted shed behind Robert's house, and Marcus begins his careful study of the Westbrook property market. Every morning, he drives his cousin Thomas to work, where Thomas's friend William Mitchell, a white construction worker, becomes intrigued by Marcus's nice car. "What does your cousin do for a living?" William asks Thomas. "He owns buildings," Thomas replies simply, though at this point, Marcus owns nothing but ambition and a head full of memorized property values. Marcus spends his days methodically surveying properties across Westbrook, noting asking prices, studying market patterns. He shows Diana a promising property in an all-white neighborhood, a fixer-upper they could afford, but not improve. That's when Diana mentions her old acquaintance, Samuel Cooper, a successful businessman who might be interested in investing. The meeting with Samuel doesn't go as planned. Marcus finds Samuel's carefree demeanor off-putting, too casual for the serious business he has in mind. He leaves without presenting his proposal, much to Diana's frustration. "You're judging him by how he acts, not by what he's accomplished," Diana scolds. "Samuel owns 18 properties of his own. He knows this game better than you think." Marcus's breakthrough comes when he meets James Harrison, owner of a rundown apartment building. Marcus proposes a detailed renovation plan, requesting a $10,000 improvement loan as part of the purchase. Harrison refuses, but not before Marcus notices something interesting on his shelf. A gift from his banker, Mr. Anderson at Central City Bank. This detail becomes the key that unlocks Marcus's future. He waits outside Central City Bank for hours, finally catching Mr. Anderson as he leaves for the day. Though Anderson brushes him off, Marcus's persistence catches Harrison's attention. A few days later, Harrison calls with an unexpected proposition. He's willing to make the deal. The renovation of Marcus's first property begins with dawn breaking over Westbrook. Thomas and William roll up their sleeves, ready to transform the dilapidated building into something remarkable. But William hesitates, looking at Marcus with uncertainty in his eyes. "Are you comfortable working for me?" Marcus asks directly. A black man, William wipes sweat from his brow and responds with what will become the foundation of their future empire. The only color I care about is that the money's green. Their work barely begins when two police cruisers screech to a halt outside. An elderly resident had called, claiming Marcus was fraudulently posing as the owner. William steps forward to defend his new employer, but the officers silence him harshly. "I'm not talking to you," one officer snaps, hand resting meaningfully on his holster. Marcus calmly retrieves his ownership papers, his steady hands betraying years of practicing this very moment. The officers leave, but so does the elderly resident, unable to accept living in a building owned by a black man. Within days, successful black families begin moving in, transforming the property into a thriving community. Harrison, impressed by Marcus's business acumen, proposes a partnership 50-50 on future properties. Marcus recognizes the opportunity. With Harrison as the white face of their operation, they could expand rapidly. Together, they begin acquiring more prestigious properties, with William, Thomas, and Diana handling renovations and furnishing. One autumn evening, Marcus takes Diana to an elegant mansion on Hillcrest Avenue. As she walks through the empty rooms, suggesting furniture arrangements, Marcus reveals his surprise. This isn't another investment property. It's their new home, but fate has other plans. Harrison is found dead in his bed just months later. His widow offers Marcus only 25% of their joint properties, a fraction of what he deserves. But with no paperwork bearing his name, Marcus faces a brutal choice: accept the insult or lose everything. Desperate for help, Marcus returns to Central City Bank, seeking Mr. Anderson's assistance. Once again, he's turned away. But as he stands in the towering banker's building, watching financial firms conduct their daily business, inspiration strikes. Marcus drives to Samuel Cooper's office, swallowing his pride. He finds Samuel reviewing plans for his 18th property, success evident in every detail of his tailored suit. Marcus presents an audacious proposal. Together, they could buy the banker's building itself. With 12 banks as tenants, they'd have leverage to secure future loans, or at least force the banks to reconsider their lending practices. Samuel, intrigued but skeptical, asks the obvious question: who's going to sell a building like that to men like us? Enter William Mitchell, no longer just a construction worker, but their potential frontman. When they propose the idea, William balks. "I don't know the first thing about high finance," he protests. "We'll teach you everything," Marcus promises. Every number, every handshake, every golf swing. Thus begins William's transformation. Samuel takes him to Evergreen Country Club at dawn, teaching him the subtle art of golf, the sport of dealmakers. Marcus drills him on real estate valuations, mental mathematics, and the delicate dance of high-stakes negotiation. Diana proves instrumental, teaching William the intricate social graces required in their world. "The right fork isn't just about etiquette," she explains. "It's about belonging. They're looking for any sign that you don't." William proves an apt pupil. Within months, he's calculating property values in his head while sinking perfect putts. The team arranges a chance meeting with Charles Stanford, owner of the Bankers Building, at the exclusive Pine Valley Golf Club. William charms Stanford with his natural wit and carefully cultivated knowledge. After 18 holes, Stanford agrees to discuss selling the building. The asking price, $1,560,000, a fortune in 1954. Through Samuel's connections, they secure a meeting with Richard Donald, a progressive banker who agrees to lend them $200,000. Marcus assures him they'll negotiate a better price. The final negotiation unfolds in Stanford's wood-paneled office. William, impeccably dressed and thoroughly prepared, matches Stanford point for point on market analysis. His quick mental calculations and deep understanding of the market impress the seasoned businessman. Their success is staggering. The trio becomes real estate tycoons, their empire growing building by building. They even host the U.S. Vice President during a visit to their crown jewel, the renamed Liberty Building. Years later, Marcus returns to Oakwood, Georgia, with his father. Standing outside Sunrise Bank, Where he once shined shoes, Marcus sees not just a building, but an opportunity for the ultimate victory. Back in Westbrook, Marcus can't shake the image of Sunrise Bank. The building represents everything he's fought against, and everything he still needs to prove. "We need to buy that bank," he tells Samuel one evening, his voice firm with conviction. Samuel, usually optimistic, hesitates. "A bank in Georgia?" "Marcus, real estate is one thing, but banking? That's different. Especially down south where they're even more hostile to people like us." "We'll do it like the Liberty Building," Marcus insists. "William as our front, just like before." Through Richard Donald's connections, they discover Sunrise Bank is struggling. The owner, Franklin Pierce, is looking to sell, but quietly. William, now polished and confident from years of high-stakes dealings, arranges a meeting. Pierce and his son Gregory agree to sell, retaining a 20% stake to ease the transition. The deal closes for $3.2 million, their biggest investment yet. For the first time in Georgia's history, though no one knows it, two black men own a major bank. Quietly, systematically, they begin approving loans to qualified black applicants. Small business owners who'd been repeatedly denied suddenly find doors opening. Families move into better neighborhoods. Children attend better schools. But their success draws attention. 3 months in, Gregory Pierce notices the pattern in loan approvals. He confronts William in the bank's mahogany-paneled conference room. "If word gets out we're lending to colored folks, there'll be a run on this bank that'll sink us all." Gregory's threat comes with teeth. The U.S. Treasury Department has scheduled an audit, responding to anonymous complaints about questionable lending practices. William proposes a solution: buy Heritage Bank in neighboring Clayton County. By spreading loans between two institutions, they could minimize scrutiny. But the plan requires William to step up as the bank's primary operator, with only 3 months of banking experience. "I know what you've taught me," William argues passionately. "But more importantly, I know what this means to our community. Make me a real partner, and I'll make this work." Marcus and Samuel agree, but their trust proves costly. During the federal examination at Heritage Bank, William panics. Despite Marcus's attempts to guide him while disguised as a janitor, an idea borrowed from Diana's past subterfuge, William makes critical mistakes. The examiners discover irregular loans. Marcus and Samuel must inject $300,000 of their own money to cover the questionable debt. But William, trying to fix his mistake, makes an illegal transfer between banks, forcing the Treasury Department to revoke Sunrise Bank's license. Outside the bank, federal agents arrest Marcus and Samuel. William, facing his own charges, accepts a deal to testify against them. In a Washington, D.C. courtroom, William delivers damaging testimony, claiming Marcus and Samuel orchestrated everything. Marcus receives an offer: confirm William's story and walk free, or risk everything by telling the truth. The night before his testimony, Marcus sits with Diana in their hotel room. "If I tell the truth about helping our people," he says, "I'll lose the immunity deal. Then tell the truth about America instead." Diana replies softly. The next morning, Marcus rises in the courtroom, his voice steady. "Our nation's founding documents declare all men are created equal," he begins. "That's a beautiful dream that remains unfulfilled." Despite repeated warnings from his lawyer, Marcus continues. "When a man can't get a loan, he can't start a business. When he can't start a business, he can't build wealth. When he can't build wealth, he can't buy a home. And when he can't do any of these things, he's locked out of the American dream. Not by his abilities, but by the color of his skin." The courtroom falls silent. Marcus raises his eyes to the judge. "I told him to save himself, to tell them whatever they wanted to hear. But I asked for one last favor: use some of our unfrozen assets to buy 2 properties in the Caribbean. One for me, one for Samuel." William had come through one last time. Despite everything, he honored the men who had given him his start. 5 years after Marcus and Samuel's release, Congress passed the Fair Housing Act of 1968, finally addressing the racial disparities in housing and lending. But the real change had started years earlier, with a shoeshiner who dared to dream bigger than anyone thought possible. Today, the building that once housed Sunrise Bank stands as a testament to their legacy. While Marcus and Samuel lost their empire, they proved something far more valuable: that the American dream, despite its challenges, is worth fighting for, no matter the cost. Their story reminds us that progress often comes at a price, paid by those brave enough to challenge the system. In the end, Marcus and Samuel didn't just buy buildings and banks. They bought something far more precious: hope for future generations. As we look at today's continuing struggle for economic equality, their story resonates more than ever. It teaches us that real change doesn't always come from dramatic protests or political speeches, but sometimes from quiet acts of defiance, from those who dare to succeed in a system designed for them to fail. Marcus Thompson and Samuel Cooper may have lost their fortune, but they built something far more valuable: a blueprint for courage that continues to inspire generations of entrepreneurs who dare to dream beyond the limitations others place upon them. Thank you for joining us on this remarkable journey. Don't forget to subscribe and share this story with others who need to hear it. Sometimes the most powerful acts of resistance come not from tearing down walls, but from finding ways to walk through doors that others thought forever closed.